Well, NDP Leader Jagmeet Singh and his party pressed for an emergency debate in the House of Commons on these protests, and Jagmeet Singh is with me now. Mr. Singh, good to see you again. You believe
Thanks.
These protests rise to the test and merit an emergency debate in Parliament. How come?
Well, we've noticed a couple of things. This is not a normal protest. There's been a number of indicia that point to that. First off, a protest normally is focused on the government, on raising concerns about a policy, a legislation where you pressure the government to change their decision. In this case, the brunt of the impact of the presence of the convoy targets the citizens. The loudest noise, the fireworks, the honking are happening at night when no one is in Parliament, and it is targeting families and kids and children. It has been one of the worst lockdowns for many small businesses since the entire pandemic. The downtown core was set to open up and were unable to do so. Many small businesses had to shut down because they couldn't get into the center. They couldn't leave.
Right.
In addition, the organizers have made their goals really clear. They want to overthrow the government. They're not shy about it. It's clearly, boldly declared on their website. They want to meet with the Senate and the Governor General and dissolve Parliament, replace it with an unelected committee. So for many reasons, this is a problem. This is targeting people. There's been hateful images. There's been desecrating of monuments. And for many reasons, but including those, this is something that requires an emergency debate.
The federal government today offered again, a number of ministers were out saying they're proposing a special meeting with provincial and municipal leaders to decide how to deal with the trucker protests. But it's also clear the federal government is standing by its position that, look, these protests are the jurisdiction and law of provincial and municipal government. So what's your response to that?
I've seen this discussion happen a lot of times, and I have a very different perspective. Of course, we understand that there are jurisdiction and there's constitutionality to that jurisdiction. But in a crisis, I believe, and I think people also would agree, shouldn't a leader be looking for how they can provide solutions instead of looking for excuses not to act? I don't believe it's sufficient to just say, it's not our job, it's not our problem, and do nothing. What Canadians are looking for is leadership. And there is always a way to find, to help out. There's always a way for the federal government to provide leadership and support. And I reject the position that the federal government has taken, that they're just kind of standing back and waiting and seeing. I believe that a leader is someone who stands up. That's why I've said that the Prime Minister has been missing in action. I understand that he has a positive test for COVID and one of his children as well. And I understand that's very stressful. But in this crisis, the Prime Minister needs to be there, and the federal government needs to play an active role. And that's why we've called for this emergency debate to say what are the things that the federal government can do? How can we offer help with municipalities? How can we be proactive?
So one of the things you did ask for, that you are asking for, is for the Prime Minister or federal leaders to sit down with provincial and municipal governments to decide how to deal with this. So they're offering to do that. What more?
In addition to meeting specifically with municipalities, we've also said that we need to take a really strong stance against the political interference. Given that the goal of this convoy is to undermine the democracy, our position is that the government has to attract the money and stop the flow of foreign interference into our democracy. That's a very serious step that needs to be taken. We've also called for 2 additional steps. The third being, we need to make sure that there's a plan. Canadians in general are frustrated. They're looking at the fact that they're vaccinated, they've taken all the steps necessary, and still we're in this pandemic. So they want to know what the next steps are. What's the plan? How do we get out of this pandemic? What steps need to be achieved? If we're going to be living with the pandemic or living with COVID-19, what does that look like? What does that mean? We know that's going to involve vaccination, maybe like a flu shot every year, and we have to keep on doing it. What about testing to prevent the spread? And finally, what do we need to do to make sure our healthcare system is not always at the brink of collapse? How do we ensure that our healthcare system is resilient? That means making sure the federal government funds it appropriately, more nurses and more beds, so that we can move out of this period where we're constantly being at threat from a new wave that increases pressure on the healthcare system and threatens to overrun it. We can't be in that position anymore.
You've touched on concerns about foreign interference in the support of these protests. What specifically are you referring to? What kind of an investigation do you want to see?
Well, what we've seen from the GoFundMe and from various Twitter kind of accounts is that there are a lot of American politicians that are tweeting out support. A lot of Americans in general are tweeting out support. And when we when different journalists evaluated the donations of the GoFundMe, they found that a significant proportion were anonymous, and that there was a significant proportion of foreign donors. Now, donating to a cause in general is not a problem. But when that cause is expressly the goal of undermining the democratically elected government of Canada, and there is foreign money that's flowing to support that cause, that rises to the level of serious political interference. And we've seen some columns in the Globe and Mail, or a column in particular, that supports that position. But this is deeply concerning, and we don't want foreign interference in our political system.
Okay, there are some on the other side who say, look, what's the difference between foreign entities funding protesters in Ottawa and foreign groups funding environmental and climate protests that we've seen in Canada? Tell me about that. Why is one okay and one not okay?
Well, supporting any cause that, whether it be environment or supporting a local hospital or Red Cross, if there's foreign money supporting those type of initiatives, it's very different from foreign money supporting a group who's clearly stated their goal is to overthrow the government. That rises to the level of foreign interference to undermine our democracy, and that's what this convoy is all about. And again, so they're not being shy about it. They've pretty boldly declared that on their website in their memorandum of understanding. So donating and foreign money going towards a cause whose stated intention is to overthrow the government rises to the level of political interference and is inappropriate. Supporting an environmental cause or supporting an industry, those things don't impact the democracy of our country the way this convoy clearly states their intention is.
All right. NDP Leader Jagmeet Singh, thanks for your perspective this evening. Mr. Singh, we'll talk to you again.
Thanks so much.